Welcome back, viewers. I am Natalie Sealy-Richardson, and sitting with me in studio is Miss Natasha II, and we are going to talk about the online learning policy that is going to be rolled out by the Division of Education. Now, when we hear online, we did a lot of it, Miss Second, COVID. So COVID made us understand more about this while other countries were already doing it. So tell us, what is this online policy and your stakeholders involved in this policy?
Good morning, everyone. Always a pleasure to be here to bring greetings and to update the population on what we are doing in the Division of Education, Research and Technology. So the online learning policy has been approved by the Executive Council last year. Just to recap, for those who may not have followed the process, the Executive Council would have commissioned a committee. It was called the Hybrid Education Committee.
Okay.
And we were tasked with doing the research to roll out, implement, evaluate, and monitor an online learning policy. That policy was supposed to be able to give us some legal framework and some teeth to be able to integrate technology in the classroom, particularly in instances where there is some sort of disaster or some sort of reason why persons cannot be face-to-face, like what happened during COVID.
Right.
So we were able to do all of the research, did our SWOT analysis, etc., and we completed the original policy. We shared it with a number of key stakeholders, the National Parents Teachers Association. They were very heavily involved. They have done a lot of, given us a lot of information as to how they feel that it can work, and they are committed to going through the process with us. We have also given it to Tutor, that is the union that supports the teachers in the nation, and they have gone through it. They're looking at all of the ramifications, what it would mean in terms of persons' terms and conditions, and they are quite on board and very excited to work along with us. The point of an online learning policy is to enhance teaching and learning, bottom line, to ensure that we can have less downtime in terms of teaching, in case there is some sort of reason why we aren't face-to-face, and to ensure that we improve the quality of our education.
Right. And before you share with us exactly where you are in terms of, because it seems that you have passed the consultation process, and you mentioned it, the reason behind it is to allow learning to continue when you have like a national disaster. But what about if it's an individual student who just cannot go to school? There's some injury, they are able to still learn and, sit up, but they just can't get to school because of maybe an injury. Does it cater for that as well?
It will cater for that, because the system, once it's properly integrated, once we have done all of the training, you mentioned that we have begun the sensitization process. So it is a process.
Okay, so you are in sensitization now.
Right. So what we're doing, what we have done last week, we met with all of the principals, school supervisors, curriculum officers, etc. We would have already liaised with Tutor and NPTA. We are now looking to go out to talk to parents. We have gone physically, members of the committee, to schools and spoken to teachers, heard their concerns and tried to respond to them. And elements of the policy have answered most of the questions and the concerns, but we have to test it with a pilot. So one of the things that we had to do was examine a core group of schools that would best be able to be used as a sample, right? So that we are anticipating that we can actually roll out this pilot project from September and ultimately have this tool available for every school. Anyone would be able to use it. You have broken your limb, you have damaged something, but you're cognitively able to participate in a classroom. You physically can't come to school. Through a hybrid arrangement, you should be able to participate once we have all of the necessary infrastructure in place and the legal framework and all of the training, etc. done. So anybody should be able to use it. A teacher who is out but can participate, not necessarily ill, but out physically for some reason, can participate. Parents who want to teach their children at home, for homeschooling, we can standardize how we deliver our curriculum. So it's an awesome tool. If we have a system where, a situation where we have different children in different schools and we don't have the number of teachers,
Right.
as happens in the TVET areas.
Yes.
We can have one teacher in one school
Right.
teaching a number of
And the
different
students log in.
yes.
Excellent.
And we can do teacher training, principal training in service development across the Caribbean. There's no reason why we wouldn't be able to set up a system where we have smart boards and proper digital technologies in any school, and we can either be taught by or teach persons across the Caribbean or the world.
So you mentioned the importance of selecting a school that will represent, the sample. Has a school or schools been selected to run the pilot from?
Right. So we have identified 12 schools to begin this pilot project. We have some in the East, primary and secondary, and early childhood, as well as a special needs institution, right? So we went out to these schools and we had conversations with them. We did an ITC assessment. What do you actually have out there?
Right, and what is needed?
what is your real bandwidth?
Right.
Can you sustain 15 kids on a tablet at the same time or a laptop?
Yes.
Can all of the classrooms use it at one point in time?
Right.
And would we be able to hear? Would we be able to interact properly? What does a physical
Because you don't want to implement something like this and it becomes frustrating.
Exactly.
Right.
So that is the point of the sensitization and the process part. So the intention is for us to work together with this and to build on it until we have a product that is well integrated in the system.
Right. And I know, of course, on the island, we also have private schools. Are private schools a part of this, or is it just for the government schools?
It will be involving all schools, all educational institutions, because we'll have the policy. At the national level, there is an online learning policy as well. It doesn't go into as much detail as ours does, because we look at role of parent, role of student, role of curriculum officer. We went a little more in depth because of the experiences people had during the pandemic. So we tried to answer a lot of those questions. So the private sector will be invited to go through the policy and to see how best to implement it with their curriculum as they deliver the curriculum. Because the objective is improving teaching and learning at every learning institution in Tobago, right? And by extension, the nation.
Right.
Because technically, I can have my child living in Trinidad if I have a job over here, and I'm sure that the child has the same quality of education of anybody going to any one of the schools if I have that online facility.
And it's great when you see policies come out, but in terms of implementation, sometimes, it takes quite a while to have a policy implemented. What are some of the things that are needed in order for this policy to be implemented? Because you spoke about ICT needs and all of that.
Funding, obviously, because when you get into the classroom, you realize what they do have as compared to what they actually need. So we do need some system of funding. We do have a vote in the Division of Education, Research and Technology that tends to infrastructure that is related to ITC.
Right.
However, we have to look for other funding. So we need support from the corporate bodies. So we are going to be doing some very innovative, I'm going to mention them the next time I come, some very innovative and creative meetings that are going to attract some funding for projects like this one. So that it's funding, training. Everybody needs to be properly trained.
Right.
You need to understand how to use your laptop, your tablet, whatever the desktop computer, etc. You need to know how to care for it, where to store it. You need to have policies that help you to understand the guidelines of usage as they relate to the property that belongs to the government. So a lot of training is going to be necessary, the funding, constant collaboration and feedback. We're doing the sensitization now. We're going to be having some town meetings very soon. So we're going to go out into the communities to talk to parents and engage everybody in the Tobago space so that they are moving with us.
Right, because I already have questions, not here, but as a parent, so I have to look out for those town meetings.
Of course. Yes.
What do you say to people who are hearing this and again, that great idea, but will I ever see it happen in this lifetime? What do you have to say to, the naysayers or those who say, or even concerns? You have parents who are also trying to limit screen time.
Yes.
And here you are talking about introducing screen time into the classroom.
Right. So let me deal with the last part first.
Yes.
Even though we want to limit the screen time, we're not actually doing that. So kids play a whole lot of games.
Right. Yes.
All of the time.
Yes.
So it's simply a matter of monitoring how they use it and using it as a tool.
Correct.
All over the world, technology is part of the education sector.
Definitely.
And it does help persons to advance their learning and the quality of their education. So we cannot shy away from the technology. Once we stay together, once we keep talking to each other and we are open, the principals conference we had, they were very open, and that's the tone we set to begin with.
Right.
We said, do not put water in your mouth to talk. Don't be afraid to ask your questions. Don't be afraid to make your comments. And we had positive comments and we had negative comments. That's part of the process. And we want the parents close to us. We want the students close to us. We want to know what it would take to help you to use this technology to advance your education. It is not supposed to be a bother.
Right.
It is not supposed to be additional waste of time, waste of resources. It is supposed to be a smooth, well-transitioned instrument that you use in your classroom to help you to learn and to help you to teach.
Yeah, and we are preparing our children for the world stage. I remember my transition from A-levels to university, and I mean, I'm accustomed to writing my papers for A-levels, and when I got into university, everything has to be typed and submitted, and I had that disconnect because I wasn't allowed that technology in secondary school. So, this is something that I would love to see implemented and our students to be exposed, not only our students, but our teachers and the parents. So we want to thank you for bringing us up to speed into one of the happenings coming out of the division, and we would definitely ask you to return when there's more to report so that we can keep our viewers updated and engaged. All right, so we prepare to go to a break, and when we return, do you know it is International Dance Day? Do you know that? So we have someone who's coming to speak to us and tell us a little more about dancing. So I don't know if you need to put your dancing shoes on. We have a few minutes. So when we come back, you be ready to do some kind of move.
Thanks a favor to wake up and hear me neighbor.